General Motors have released the future, in my opinion, of what the electric sedan will actually look like. I think this is it. This is the future. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Welcome back, everyone else. And I want to point out something very important. I think a lot of people don't realize this. General Motors really are just going after two markets worldwide. They've pulled out of a lot of different countries. They pulled out of Australia. They no longer sell cars here pretty much at all. They do sell a couple of niche specialty models, but really they've almost completely pulled out of this car market. Done the same thing in many countries worldwide where they weren't making a profit or where the profit just wasn't worth the time for them. They did this at tremendous cost. So they're focusing now on two car markets worldwide. North America, so the US, Canada, Mexico, and China. That's their focus. It's really that simple. And it makes a lot of sense actually when you start to think about it, when you start to break it down. This is a new electric car they've released for the Chinese car market. I think there's a good chance it won't be a Chinese only car, considering the new Buick electric car will also be a US vehicle. General Motors' plans to electrify Buick have been dominating the news recently, but Chevrolet has a plan to stop its upscale cousin from stealing the limelight. That's this electric sedan. I think it looks weird, but I quite like it. What do you think? Are you a fan? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know. Now, the name of this is called the FNXE concept. Now, although it's technically a concept, I don't think it's true. I think that it is a real production vehicle. Now, that name might sound like the model code for, I don't know, like some sort of appliance in your house, possibly. But this car is clearly not an appliance. It's actually a pretty impressive EV. As you can see, it's got pretty wide hips. It's got broad shoulders and a smaller waist. Kind of the classic look for a car. Yeah, for it's classic. You know, people love that sort of thing in cars, right? I actually think it looks a little bit like a Camaro. And I wonder if this could be the new GM Camaro electric vehicle. It would make a lot of sense if it was, significantly considering the fact GM doesn't plan to make any more Camaros. Gasoline-powered ones anyway. Why not do what Ford did with the Mustang? Use the name for a vehicle that isn't a Mustang. I mean, they could do the same thing, right? Sure, the Camaro isn't really a four-door sedan, but this thing looks like it could be the electric version. I think it is. Now, GM said it's primarily made for China. They didn't rule out the US or Canada or say Mexico as well, getting this vehicle. And they confirmed they're going to launch 15 EVs across their brands by 2025. That's a more realistic number than some companies who are saying 40 or more, each one based on their Ultium battery technology. The Cadillac Lyriq SUV already uses Ultium tech, and others may stay in. And while some cars that GM are making primarily for the Chinese car market may stay in China because they look a bit China-ish, right? A bit more suited to that market. I really think this is a car that's suited to both markets. And the other thing worth considering is the Buick Envista and the Buick Electra are both coming to the US. Their vehicles have been released for China recently, but they're both going to the United States as well. But there is a bit of an issue here. While Buick's new electric lineup will start coming out next year, around the middle of 2023, Chevy's offerings are not going to come out for more than a year. Personally, I think General Motors should bring this out as a new Camaro in the US. I think it would sell really, really well as long as it's priced competitively. And GM is saying they're going to price their EVs really competitively. They're saying their electric cars are going to be on par with their gasoline-powered cars in terms of price, upfront price. I mean, obviously, the ownership costs of an EV are far lower than a gasoline-powered car. So if you're paying the same upfront cost, right, that means your long-term cost plus your upfront cost together mean EVs of the future are going to be significantly cheaper than what we're paying today for gasoline. What some people today are paying for new gasoline-powered cars. Now, my advice is don't buy a gasoline or diesel-powered car. One of the key reasons is I believe depreciation is going to fall through the floor. It's going to collapse. You buy a new one now, you're going to lose a lot of money. Norwegian car market, EVs are now worth, in many cases, more than the original purchase price. Gasoline-powered cars, it's not the case at all. Now, General Motors have stated that they're targeting China's urban rich or urban wealthy people for their EVs. Quite an interesting strategy. The thing that's worth considering is GM does have a tri-venture, so it owns about 33% of the business venture between itself, SAIC, which is a Chinese state-owned company, and Wuling. And they make a range of different electric cars. Of course, you probably know the Wuling Hongwan Mini EV, best-selling electric car in China, one of the best-selling cars in the world. It's usually around in the top 3 best-selling models for the last few years. That is one of the cars they make. But they make actually a range of other compelling electric cars as well. But they're more the budget-priced offerings. GM, though, wants to go more upmarket in China. It makes a lot of sense. Remember, there's 1.4 billion in people in China, and they have more savings per person on average than any other country in the world. World's biggest car market. I think it's a good strategy from General Motors to do this. GM sales in China for General Motors branded vehicles, not Buick, just General Motors branded vehicles, were 67,000 in 2004. The year before that, only 50,000. But from 2003, they went from 50,000 and they hit a record of 767,000 vehicles in 2014. But sales have gone down significantly since then. If you look at 2020, they went all the way down to 311,000. 2021, all the way down to 270,000. They're losing market share big time. They need EVs like this to come in very fast because the Chinese love EVs. And if this was currently for sale, I reckon it would sell very well in China. And Buick has actually done significantly better in China than GM or General Motors branded cars. Buick in 2003, 150,000 sales. It hit a peak of 1.2 million vehicle sales in 2017. In 2021, it was down to 830,000, but that's still a very impressive number. More than likely, this will come out as a Buick electric car because Buick is GM's main brand in China. Now, let me know your thoughts on this. Would you consider buying one of these? Do you think GM should release this electric car in the US, in Canada? I think they should.